Shooting USA is brought to you by Hornady Security and the new Ammo Cabinet. Keep your ammunition secure and organized and free up room in your gun safe with the Modular Ammo Cabinet by Hornady Security.
Here we go. It's the Shooting USA update for March 20th. Thanks for checking in on the channel. Your support here is always appreciated. As promised, here is the Christian Seiler interview.
You sound good too. There we are. The champ is here, ladies and gentlemen. Christian Seiler, welcome to the Shooting USA updates, sir.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you having me. Always a pleasure to sit down, connect, see how everything's going. Glad everything's good on your end, and an exciting year ahead.
Man, thank you for getting up early. As everybody may or may not know, Christian is out on the left coast, and I'm here in the lovely free state of Tennessee. So it's just now 8:06 a.m. Central Time. However, 6:06 out there in the Emerald City. And thank you again for getting up early and knocking this out with us. As everyone may or may not know, I'm sure they do, most people do, who care about practical shooting, Christian is arguably the most dominant current open division shooter. And that's a big reason why you see so much Christian Seiler on Shooting USA when we're covering events like the Open and PCC Nationals. I mean, you're relevant. This year, we followed suit along the lines of what we did last year, and that is you get to the end of this match and you are in a position where you can throw a microphone on us and essentially give us full access to your process. Talk about that a little bit, because I think that resonates, and I know that what we did this year worked very, very well, and we can even watch that. But I think before we bring that up on screen, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about being in a position where you can do that.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, John, I'd be mic'd up on stage one if you wanted me to. But, you know, it's better at the end of the match where, you know, I had a very sizable lead. I think the biggest lead in Open Nationals in current history, maybe past 5-6 years. I know JJ won pretty dominantly back in 2018. But yeah, I enjoy getting mic'd up and showing people the process and the additional sound bites that you added on the YouTube channel. I mean, there's so much interpersonal dialogue between myself, talking to myself, what I'm thinking, what I'm reviewing, me and some of my friends, my strategic partners, if you want to call them that, on the Super Squad, that we work together to get the best plan and just execute to the best of our abilities. So I enjoy showing people that, and then also just the process that goes into it. I mean, most people just see the 15 or 20 second run that just see just ripping through the course of fire, but there's so many levels of details. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, there's 2 or 3 levels of details beyond even what we talk about just going through the walkthrough. I try to include as much as possible and not lose people, and hey, I'm gonna make sure my eyes go here and this and that. So you put in some of those details to show all the things we're thinking about. I mean, it's a choreographed dance that we're doing throughout that stage. How do we move our feet? How do we set ourselves up for the next position? Where do our eyes go? What are some of the considerations? What are we thinking through as we go through the stage? Where are we on rounds? Where am I planning my reload? Okay, if this doesn't work out, can I do this to have contingency plans? And then you put it all together, like, I'm going to burn this in where I can close my eyes, I can picture this stage, I can run this no problem, and then you have to go execute. And typically executing is the hardest part, because some of us have the same plans, but you know, when you execute successfully, you know that the prep work was perfect, you burned it in properly, and then you just got that dog and you just go out and execute. And it's 2-part. You got to know what to do, and then you got to be able to do it. So it's fun showing that process, and I really enjoy it. So you guys do a great job with the show. I love seeing the Shooting USA episodes, and mic'd up is probably my favorite element of that for sure.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for giving us the access, allowing us, you know, that opportunity to essentially bring the audience a little further into the process. Because it's one thing to watch, you know, the elite level competitors run a course of fire and shoot and, you know, and dice it up for, you know, tenths of seconds here and there. But then there's something else, I think, in terms of value for people who are watching when they get a better understanding of how the best competitors in the world really break down a course of fire versus just run through and shoot them as you see them. Talk about how you got started in it. If I'm not mistaken, are you not a product of the Scholastic Action Pistol program?
Yeah, a little bit. I first got involved with the local steel back when it was called SPP or SASP. or now it's SASP, but the STEEL program, Scholastic Action Shooting Program.
Right.
I did a little bit of USPSA, a little bit of IDPA at Bellevue Gun Club. There was a Tuesday and Thursday night, so I would shoot those. But I went just to a gun safety class, wanted to shoot, kept getting brought out by my dad, or I kept bringing my dad out, I guess, bugging him monthly, weekly, and then really enjoyed that. And then saw a steel challenge and IDPA competition, went and shot at IDPA, and then went to the IDPA Indoor League and on Tuesdays, and they said, hey, you might enjoy Thursday more. It's USPSA. I sure did. And so I kept going every Thursday and mixing a Tuesday here and there. And then they said, hey, there's a steel challenge program locally as well. You should go try that. And I did that. And that you could shoot the 22, go out there with a whole case of ammo and not break the bank and just get a lot of reps in, which honestly, looking back, that was awesome. I could put a lot of rounds down range inexpensively, get a lot of reps, and steel plates are obviously really good to train on too. So did a lot of that, shot like the junior nationals, won that pretty much every year from like, I don't know, 14 to when they said you're too old. I think 17 or 18 is the cutoff for that. But I did that, and then while I was doing that, I was doing my own USPSA stuff. So I kind of focused on USPSA, and I tune up for the Steel Challenge stuff, and did a little bit of that in Steel Challenge. But just with range access and everything, I do a lot better on non-planned pre-courses of fire versus ones you can shoot all the time, just because I can't on the Steel Challenge. But I might shoot some Steel Challenge in the off year here or there and have fun. But yeah, that's how I started. The 22s, growing through that, and really becoming a student of the game. And I think that shows in when I do the breakdown of, hey, there's levels to the breakdown here. There's levels to the details here. And just became a student of the game and still am. And I'm going to do that this weekend. I'm teaching a class and always a student in the game, but started in Steel, then USPSA.
That's interesting. And, as a teenager, I mean, you even said dragging your dad along so you can get there, so you can handle firearms and all that. Was there ever any trepidation from Mike and Sherry, or how did that work out?
Yeah, no, they always were super supportive. I know I say like I drug, Mike and Shelly out there, but like they were always super, super supportive of it, which is awesome. Like having supportive parents. I wouldn't be here today without my mom and dad being so supportive. And I mean, not only on helping me travel with guns before I was 18, technically, but between 18 and 21, there's a one or two trips, whether it be down to like Infinity teaching a class where I brought a gun. You can have letters saying hey, you're traveling to and from. It's a little bit of a gray area, but they still would travel with me, and they still do now, especially for the big matches. And no, they've been nothing but supportive. And maybe at first it was like, hey, we're buying all these guns and ammos. What are we doing here? But brought my mom out to a competition or two, drug herder practices, and they've been nothing but supportive, and they get it for sure, and have early on that this is something that I was passionate about and wanted to pursue. And, at the same time, I was supporting my other passion, which was baseball. And I played that up until college, and I had a path there of, do I want to pursue college baseball and keep doing that? Or do I want to pursue shooting? And it was a pretty easy choice for me just because of how I was doing in shooting and the runway with that. And also I wanted to go to school at the University of Washington here as my school, that my top choice I wanted to go to, business program. But they were nothing but supportive of everything I wanted to do, as long as I was passionate about it, hardworking, and really got after it with every fiber of my being. They've been nothing but supportive, and that shined through in the matches. They go to the nationals and the world championships and everything, and I get that work ethic and that drive and that passion for things that I'm interested in from them for sure. So there would be no Christian Seiler without Mike and Shelly for sure.
I love it, and I owe your mom an apology. I called her Sherry. It's actually Shelly.
Oh, so, you're good.
Sorry,
it's still
Shelly.
early.
That, though, draws a couple of other observations on my part, things that I've always admired about your support structure in the form of your family when they're present. Your dad is he's diligent about repairing targets. And I'm not saying you don't repair targets, but your dad is always repairing targets. Is that something that you and he have kind of planned ahead of time so that there's always somebody on your behalf repairing targets, giving you an opportunity potentially to burn in your stage plan? And or is that just in his work ethic? Talk about that.
Yeah, that's just his work ethic. Like if there's something to be done and help out, he's always lending a helping hand to people. And my mom and dad are the same with that. They can help someone, have the opportunity to do so. They do, and they pass along to me. So if people ask me for advice or ask me for help, I'm always eager to do so. But no, I still tape the average, if not higher than the average of the normal guy that's out there, especially on Super Squad. And there's a couple guys in the Super Squad that are so good at taping, and I have so much respect for them. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm definitely not the worst. I'm definitely above average privilege there. But there's no element of my dad paced so I don't have to. I still pace and I do that, and I'm very diligent about that. And your reputation and how you interact with other people and how you participate in your squad matters. And so I have a reputation to uphold of I do my job in the squad. I'm a good squad mate, all that sort of stuff. But on top of that, I do bring along my dad, and on his own accord, we've never really talked about this. He's like, yeah, our squad will move through faster. Things will get repaired, so he helps out with that for sure. And also there's been some competitive equity things of going out there right before I shoot. And he's like, hey, there's a hole in the wall here. There was a barrel strike at Area 3. I almost lost a couple years ago, and I have perfect video of me nowhere even remotely close to a barrel, and they said it's a barrel strike. So the only strategy play there is just before I shoot, he takes a lap, make sure all the targets are repaired, and make sure the walls are repaired. And he not only does it for me, he does it for pretty much everyone in the squad if he has time, if he's out there, which helps competitive equity. But yeah, no, I still tape a ton, and we take care of business. And honestly, in recent years, taping and participation and cooperation and camaraderie in the super squad's probably been at an all-time high. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it is. I think there's younger players in the culture, whether it be myself or a couple other people that have really driven this good camaraderie, good participation culture, and holding people accountable. And I think that's been pretty good to see in the super squad. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a lighter atmosphere. It used to be a lot more cutthroat, and there's still elements of that. And when it gets competitive, it is. But I mean, like, for example, like Aaron Eddins, he's another top young guy. Brendan Conaway, those guys, like, we get along, we're friends, and we want nothing but the best for each other. We want each other to perform at the highest level. And there's been competitive moments. Like, I remember at Area 2 last year, Aaron and I were competitive, and we were still talking about stuff, and there was no ill will or anything. Like, Aaron's a friend, and it's going to be pretty cool going to the World Championship together. And, whereas all of us in the U.S. are super competitive against each other, going with a team to go try to win a gold medal individually and as a team is going to be pretty awesome.
I'm excited to unfortunately, Shooting USA doesn't really have access to IPSC World Shoots. We've had it one time when it was held down at Universal Shooting Academy, and Frank literally went to bat for us and pulled strings.
Yeah.
But there have been other times where it's been in other countries, and the question has been, well, would you go? Can you go? And unfortunately, there's like cost preventative dollar figures involved.
Yeah.
When it comes to what IPSC believes their television rights are worth. So without getting into that rabbit hole, I think you're spot on, and I think it's admirable. Not only do I see an evolution in the personalities and the type in this modern or current age of the super squad, if you will, it's very different than it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think that just speaks a lot to not only the caliber of people, but also the level of competition. I think my next question for you is, I mean, you have a real job. You're, without saying so, you're in your office getting ready for your day early ahead of business hours, but it's a busy time of year. You're a financial planner, and it's tax season, and so you've got meetings and you've got important things to do today that are not shooting. How much is shooting a hobby, and at what point do you see your hobby taking you international, making you a name that's known among all of those in the world? I mean, at what point does this thing become something better than it actually is? Well, not better. Better's the wrong word. At what point do you see the future for this where you're like, I'm going to invest my vacation time and my money to do this?
And I pretty much honestly do that now. I think I have the best of both worlds, where I'm involved in a career that I went to school for, did a bunch of licenses and certifications for, and very passionate about doing that. There's always been two elements of me doing this. I'm very passionate about the shooting. I'm very passionate about business and my long-term career and helping people in multifaceted areas there. But I really enjoy my day job, and I work very hard, a lot of hours. I study this stuff. I work well with clients and everything. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. I get the best of that world, but I also get the best of the shooting world. Like, if I went full-time in shooting, I would do probably a lot more classes, probably a lot more competitions, but I kind of get the highlights of both, I get to do my full-time job, get to be very present, get to, be accomplished and do what I want to do here. And then I also then get to grow on my shooting side too. I mean, if I went full time in shooting, I have a lot more time for more area matches and some other things here. But I go to 3-4 area matches a year. I go to 2 or 3 of the nationals at least, depending on where they're timed. And I go to the world championship. So I get to do all the high level things, and I've pretty much accomplished, everything there is to do in that element. I've won all 8 area matches. I've won all the nationals. I've won the world championship. I've traveled around the world, being the current world champion. So I've done everything I want to accomplish there. Not saying I don't have goals there, but I've done the whole thing, and so my goals for me now is keep winning that world championship, keep winning those national championships, and then also have some little highlights there as well. I mean, I get to do the best of both worlds there. Sure, would I love to have a little more time to do more fun elements in shooting, whether it be work with celebrities or athletes or different units? Absolutely. But I do get to do the highlights. I still get to be very involved in that space too, whether it be shooting with some MMA shooters or MMA guys or some country artists, or whether it be getting to train like my local SWAT team or different departments or different units. Or like this weekend, I like to start every year with one class with some high level people. It's very motivating for me. It helps me bring out my full material plan for my year as well. So I got to do the highlights. Would I like to teach a lot more classes? Absolutely. They're very fun. They're very, very developmental for me too on my own side, which has been a very interesting thing to see. I wish I did more of that last year, but I really get to do the highlights. And, at times for sure, do different elements hold you back? Yeah. I mean, the guys that I compete against, 1 to 10, there's some people that have full-time jobs there. But most of them are in shooting or are full-time professional shooters, and their day looks a lot different than mine. I mean, I work long hours, I get out of the office, and then not only do I have, general life responsibilities, family, social, whatever it may be, and just being an adult, a young adult at that, but I also then have the whole shooting thing. And there's so much that goes into it. The guns, the gear, the prep, the training, the travel, all that sort of stuff, while still trying to be a normal 24-year-old with a full-time job is definitely difficult. And people ask me, how do I do it? And it's really not for everyone. Like, you have to have a certain amount of drive. When I mean certain amount, I mean like a crazy, ridiculous amount of drive and hard work ethic and all that sort of stuff. But I get to do the best of both worlds. I wish I had more time to train for sure. Wish I had more, resources and access to stuff, but I make it work. And that's why I've had to be a student of the game, because no one's doing what I'm doing. No one has a full-time job that does the capabilities that I do. And that's come through my level of understanding of the game and the level of understanding in my skills and development. So it's only just humbled me of going back to the basics, learning from every match, and being very meticulous and very analytical of stuff. So right now, I definitely can do both. I don't foresee anything changing. I have pretty much everything maxed out on both ends. So we'll just keep at what we're doing.
That's awesome. It's inspiring to know that it is not about making money. It's quite literally, I mean, in your words, it's about capturing titles. It's about hunting champions. And I admire that.
Sure.
And I always have. And I'm super thankful that we have the relationship that allows me to bring this, to the audience. You mentioned training and teaching. A couple of months ago, I saw a quick video flash by of you training rifle, it looked like, with Ben Steger. Tell me about training with Ben. Tell me about where we're going potentially. Is it 2-gun or is it rifle challenge? Like, where are we headed with that?
Yeah, so that was a little bit of instructor development. I wanted to go down there, work with Ben, work with Matt Pranka, X-Ray Alpha, and those guys are great. They run a really, really good class. When you think of classes, you think of, Ben, JJ, Max, a couple other guys for sure, guys that are doing this full time, the guys that are working with some of our top law enforcement, our top military competition shooters. Those are the guys. So you're always kind of curious how people explain stuff, how people run a class, and people think of those classes as gold standard, and that's what they are. They're very high level, good classes. They're organized well. So I had a good time seeing that. It's really interesting to see how much crossover there is between the messaging, how people display it, but it's really all the same. I mean, like, shooting is simple but not easy, and so I really enjoy the way that people describe how you train, methodology of that, the skill development, all that is very interesting to me. So being a student of the game, of course, there's always things you pick up or things you want to take and how you explain something. So that was fun. But as far as the rifle stuff, I mean, I still want to be, continue to be the best pistol shooter in the world, but also, the rifle aspect is exciting. It's fun. And when I say I can do the highlights of both, full-time career and also the shooting, I mean, that's one of the highlights is going out there shooting rifles for fun, whether, I have a fun video idea planned with Matt Pranka, in the future, fly out to North Carolina and do some work there. But, I get to do the highlights, the fun thing. Like that was a very fun, exciting weekend to go down there and train rifle. And I'll tell you a secret. If you can shoot pistol pretty well, you can shoot rifle really well, not necessarily the other way around. But there's a few tips and tricks that Matt and Ben showed me and we're talking about in training. And, when you get 3 high-level people that are, students of the game, you nerd out over the stuff a little bit at a high level. So that was cool. I really enjoy intellectual, very detailed conversations about this. Like looking forward to this weekend for sure. Got a lot of GMs, a lot of masters, but maybe I'll shoot a 2-gun here or there, shoot the rifle. I shoot the rifle well. It's very natural for me. In Washington, whatever rifles you have are what you have. So I have enough lowers if I did need to compete. It's got some JPs and stuff like that as well. So, we'll see what happens. I'm not at a level, comfortability with it where I want to go out and teach a bunch of rifle, but that's something I want to develop myself, where I can get to a level where I can provide rifle and pistol to certain groups. But, rifle, it's the same way you train the pistol. It's the same hard skills of what you're doing with your vision, all that sort of stuff. The only thing changes is kind of just your mount of how you mount the rifle, and the physicality of that, what you do with your left hand, your right hand, how you mount it. But everything else is the same with the pistol. So I really enjoy seeing that overlap. But yeah, Matt Pranka, Ben Steger, they're top instructors, do a really good job, and they know what they're talking about.
That's cool. Let's see if I can share a screen here because I've got it queued up from the show from last week. And this will be you just about to win, I think it was stage 2. Let's see what happens here if this works.
Oh, that was a banger.
Yeah, this works.
Perfect. Yeah, this one was good. This is when you culminate perfect vision skills and perfect execution. This is something that you get, and I love it. By the way, that I rack out that round there. That was an aggressive rack out, John. That was that was doing a little bit too much. Yeah, I was pretty fired up after that. That was I really like pressure, like in anything. Like if I have a big meeting or something I need to deliver on, I'm gonna do a better job at whether you give me 6 hours or an hour to do it. I'd rather have the pressure on. And, it's not like a lack of drive or anything. And I still want to win. If I'm on stage 32 at a world shoot and I'm up by, 20, 30 points, I still want to win. I still want to get after it. It's just different when the pressure is more on you and in those situations. And there's 2 elements to winning. It's one, knowing what you need to do and then actually doing it. And not everyone has both. And I enjoy more the execution side of it, of just getting out there and doing it. And it really is a check when you go up there. Can I deliver when it really matters? And so there's pressure on that stage. There was a lot that I'm not going to get into leading up to that Open World or Open National Championship. The pressure was on. I needed to perform. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I was just happy to be at the range, happy to go out there and execute. And so I was just grateful that an opportunity to go out there and win, and like I had a fresh canvas. Like I always think these matches as a fresh canvas. Like I'm a Picasso or I don't even know, all these painters or whatever. And you go out there and you get to put on the performance that you want, right? Like it's your concert, it's your fresh canvas. Go out there and let it rip. And that's what I wanted to do. I go out there on the first stage, and first stage everyone always freaks out over, and probably everyone included. You look at the stage 30 different ways. Oh, this way, this way, this way. And I go out there in that first stage, and I go out there, and it was a perfect stage. I couldn't have dreamt it up better. I had the full pressure. Everyone's heart's racing, everyone's adrenaline. People's handshake and everything like that. And I got out there and I said, it's time. Like, this is a fresh canvas, fresh paint. Let's crack it. Let's go. And ripped the first stage, and it was perfectly executed. My calls were there. That's the big thing, is when you get pressure, the calls don't always connect. And then stage 2, I just said, let's just continue to build on what we got going on here. And there was no element of pulling back the reins when I got into stage 2. We went out there, we shot at a visual confidence level that I was comfortable with, meaning that I was driving my eyes to the center of each target. I didn't see, this is what happens when you really have your eyes connect to the targets and you really pre-plan. I didn't see any other element of the target besides the center. I didn't see anywhere else in the steel besides the center, and it was perfectly executed, perfectly timed. And I wasn't painting with this fat brush. I had this fine fine brush that I was adding these little details in, and it paid off. I don't know if you saw, but I on that left side, I pushed in so aggressively at a high level, I blended the entire left side. I just posted this video with the big stick with my Glock, and those are the sort of drills that I do. I'm going to do this weekend too. Those are the drills that you push yourself, and then this stuff becomes possible. And so I've pushed myself on blending in the past year, and I did that successfully. And yeah, I loved also the pressure of the timing of the bobber. I mean, I was way ahead of it because I expect it to be fast and just ripping off of it, and then you saw how excited I was racking that round out. So I almost took the slide rocker off the gun. I mean, you know how it is.
When we saw, when I saw that we had that, like I had the over shoulder shot, but when I saw that Anthony had that from the side, Pete, who is our editor, it was like, yeah, dude, we're going to that. He's in the zone right now. And speaking of in the zone, like I'm looking at the results in practice score right now. Stage 1 first, stage 2 first, stage 3 first, stage 4 8th, but still 92%, stage 5 7th, but still 91%, stage 6 5th, 92%, stage 7 first. The only looks like the only tripping point was stage 8, where you were 62%. Just, I mean, it's like
I had a jam. Yeah, it was a
so it's a time issue on that one. But that's not a very
Mm-hmm.
valuable stage. I mean, that was
60 points.
24.9 points, 25 points after all.
Yeah.
But back on track on stage 9, 3rd, 10, 3rd, 11, 3rd, 12th, 2nd, 13th. Stage 13, you won. Stage 14, 2nd. Stage 15, 3rd. Stage 16, you win. Stage 17, 4th. And then stage 18, which is the one you walked us through, you win that outright. I mean, that's dominance, man. That's awesome. That's
Thanks.
a dude who's in his element, and it's exciting to be there for those limited, situations where we happen to pop in. We're going to be filming this stage or that stage, and it just so happened that every stage we filmed you on, you won. So there you have it.
Makes for good TV. Yeah, it makes for good TV to do that.
If it's the Christian Seiler show, for sure. I've got another one queued up. Let's see how this looks. This was that really fast stage 13.
Oh yeah, this one was good. Yeah, this is just textbook shooting on the move, being aggressive, but shooting with a level of confirmation that allows you to do all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, every position together. I never stopped shooting. I mean, the longest roll was transitioning left to right there. Yeah, that was a good one. I really enjoyed this stage. This was a blending stage. This was, I guess, technically a classifier. But, yeah, this is a stage where everyone's – I think I literally probably said it here, but the same thing comes to mind. Everyone wants to do a drag race. Everyone wants to go fast. Everyone wants to show – how good they can do this stage and put up these crazy numbers. And this is where you can get carried away. And it's truly a testament to the level that someone can shoot at when they shoot at a certain level of confirmation and all the dead time is minimized and you maximize your active time of shooting the targets and all the dead time's efficient. Like all that dead time there, like I couldn't have drawn it up more efficiently. Blended everything. The transitions were even out when I was moving and everything. And then I just made sure I had a dot in the center of it there. I had a pretty good Alpha Charlie percentage there. I aimed high out of the risk on some of those just based on the hit factor. And that's just like how you execute that stage. And so I was happy to win that stage just out of principle of I think I can shoot at a level of confirmation on every single stage that's going to be sufficient to not miss and have a high alpha percentage, 95, 96% plus, and also still win the stage. And that's just, can I take my dead time when I'm not shooting and can I minimize that? And my active time, do I see what I need to see on these targets? And that is the most important thing is, do I see what I need to see and wait for that to be there before I pull the trigger? And so that's what I want to do. And that's what I did at the World Shoot, but even then some. I shot at a ridiculously high level of confidence at the World Shoot. Let me back up. Confidence, generally speaking, absolutely, but meaning confidence on the sights, meaning I relatively shot slow, if you want to call it that. I saw a bright red dot in the center of every single target on the entire World Shoot. I shot at sights pace plus, and I don't plan on doing that again, but I shot at sights pace plus, and the only big mistakes I had was a weird mag jam and then a mic like that much into a partial at like 25 yards when I was shooting sideways, you know. Besides that, there was all alphas, and I let people drag race try to catch me, and they'd have highs and lows, and I just said, I'm gonna go out, shoot their sight space plus, and if you want to try to catch me, please do. I enjoy it. I love the chase. I love the pressure. But I just shot a sight space plus confirmation, and I don't really do that anymore. That was, you know, the moment was so big, I just like stuck to what I knew, and that's shooting a high level confirmation and minimize the dead time. Now, you're not going to squeeze much out of the active time, but a little bit more aggressive there would be good too. And that's what I did at this match. I didn't want to win every stage. I just wanted to see what I need to see, and I want to be aggressive in places that weren't going to allow the wheels to fall off, and that's the dead time.
You got it. Well, I got one more element pulled up that we should look at, and this is after all of the planning and everything else that you did for stage 18 with us mic'd up. I've got it queued up to the run, and this is significant because this shows that pivotal moment at the end, the final sequence with the 4 steel and the bobber. So
yeah,
this is cool. Listening to you get yourself ready is fun.
And I mean, breathing, getting my optic turned on. I put it to the brightest part of the stage. Also, shameless plug, I am so glad that I'm shooting a Vortex optic. I feel so comfortable and confident behind that thing. Defender XL,
yeah, I mean, they
5
work.
MOA, just rocking. They work, they're reliable, they have the picture that I want. And just breathing, visualizing, make sure everything's, touch everything, make sure everything's ready to go. And then it's just time to execute. And those ones there, it was good. Shoot in, no problem. And I was actually surprised how far along I got in this course. I mean, I got right there and I said, I'm almost at the end. So kind of a tight load. Besides that, everything else was good. I go over, ding, 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 bobber. No problem.
I mean,
I didn't really need me to step out like that, but I was just stoked too. But I mean.
Best for the squad again. Just absolutely, just absolutely crushing. And what was wild was we had watched several others try to do that plan in front of you, and all of them, one way or another, jack it up. And I was like, dude, is he going
Didn't
for
love
it?
that.
Yeah, no. And, I mean, there was a moment that didn't make the cut of the show where you're talking to your dad. You came back to Randall, who was the dedicated camera that was following you for the stage, and you say, okay, I've decided I'm going with the original plan, but there's another element that didn't make the show where you're talking to your dad before you go to the safe area to kind of, and you say to him, I'm just going to go burn that in. Like I'm committing to it. I'm going to go burn it in.
For sure.
And at that point, like, I don't know that yet because Randall's the one who's following you and I'm following other competitors at the time, but you kind of came back by and you're like, yeah, I'm going with that original plan. I was like, all right, here we go. And sure enough, man, just punching targets down. It's awesome to watch.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't that high of a risk, like, relatively speaking. I think people kind of blow things out of proportion sometimes. So you have to kind of think about who's telling you the message, who's concerned about it, based on characteristics and how they perform. But, I mean, a lot of people are talking about that. I don't think I ran it the most aggressive way. Maybe the most aggressive way is you slide over, shoot all 4. I shot 2 and then slid over. Or actually, no, I slid over and shot all 4 of them. So that is kind of the more aggressive way. I mean, you could mix in a target there, or shoot 2, slide, and then do it. And you would, where you're at in the match, theoretically, I could have totally just waited for it. But that's kind of letting fear and fear of failure creep in. And it's not really you always got to manage risk versus return. And it's a blend of that based on the strategy that you take. So a lot of crossovers and a lot of things that I do. But based on that, I determined that is actually low risk if I just go one shot at each. If I miss, I'm going to go straight to the bobber. But if you just lock in the positive elements of, like, I need to look at the center of this target, center, then you just execute and you don't let this, like, negative mindset creep in. Of course, you want to run the what if. Hey, if I miss this, do I go right to the bobber? Yes, absolutely. But I was comfortable with it. And even when people were messing it up, they weren't messing up the bobber. So they're just losing time on the misses. So you got to go back to what you're confident with. And, like, it kind of sounded corny when I said it, but I'm like, you can't let this negative mindset creep in. And it's exactly true. I remember learning from Yang Lee at one of these local matches, and I had to load to a big stick, a 170, a longer mag to load than a 140. And I said, I better, like, click this mag in. And he's like, don't say that. And I'm like, well, I'm just worried about, missing my big stick load. I don't practice it as much, and it's kind of harder. And he's like, okay, let's see how that works out. I go out there with a negative mindset of, like, I really need to make sure I do this. And what do you know? I dropped the mag. And he says, never have a negative mindset. Always have a positive mindset. And I was like, yeah, next time I reload to a 170, I'm going to smack this mag in, no problems, get perfect reload. I practice this all the time. And that's what I went up there too. I'm like, this is not actually that hard. It is difficult, but not easy. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to shoot 4 plates like I know how to. I'm going to look at the center of each and you just execute. You don't let it be like, oh, what if I miss? Like, you've never heard a champion in any other sport be like, oh, I thought I might miss when I went and pulled up to the three-point line. You go up there like, I've done this before, I'm going to go execute. And that's where, you toe the line of confidence, cockiness, and it's often misunderstood. But you have to go in this match knowing that you're going to win, you're going to perform, and you're going to do well. And you've never heard anyone tell you otherwise that consistently wins at a high level. So you have to have that mentality.
That's awesome. I mean, that's quintessentially the champion's mentality, no matter if it's practical shooting or javelin or you name it, basketball. You're right on it. How much time do you spend on the mental piece, whether it's this or business or life? I mean, like, do you take time to intentionally work on the mental piece of all of this?
Not really, but it's been just because it's been cultivated through high level baseball, growing up my entire life, being involved in the junior shooting sports element, being a junior in the USPSA, all the match experience. And I get better and better as I go along because the mental piece, it overarches over everything. It overarches your training. It overarches your match performance, of course. And what your internal dialogue says to yourself creates the external result. And so you have to be able to not just say it to the public, not just say it in a podcast, being like, I'm going to go do this, I'm training, I'm going to win, I'm going to accomplish my goals. You have to, the quiet moments of you're on the range super early, you're on the range at 5 a.m., you're staying there late, you're dry firing before bed early in the morning. You got to know, how bad you want it, but also then that like you're doing everything that you need to know to accomplish what you need to do. Those are quiet moments where like, it's just you. You look in the mirror, and you're like, am I this guy that can do this? And you have to answer to yourself before you answer to anyone else. And I just consistently over the years answered to no one but myself on, am I holding myself accountable? Am I doing what I need to do to be this champion, to be this dominant force in USPSA, IPSC? And I've had to just answer that every single day, leading up to it. And I plan on doing that in every match that I enter and leading up to the World Championship. Am I doing what I need to do today to be successful and win this match? And you answer to yourself. Yes, there's sponsors, there's friends, there's families, there's pressure to answer to, but at the end of the day, it's just you and you. I mean, no one's going to go up there and pull the trigger for you. No one's going to help you dry fire. No one's going to load your mags. No one's going to, pull the trigger. And so you have to be accountable, and that's just the mentality you got to take into everything. And I've cultivated that through baseball, through my family, through just the man that I want to be and the competitor that I want to be. But I do work on it all the time. I work on my own internal image and how I train and how I think about things. And, the night before the match and the morning before the match, you got to have a check with yourself of, am I this guy? And then you answer on the range that day that you're that guy. So you got to do that. It's the quiet moments. It's just you and you. And I do work on that before I go to bed that match, and then before I wake up, before I hit the range as well. Where
does Big Hippo Energy fit into that?
Well, I don't know. I used to joke about the silverback gorilla energy and the bananas and stuff. It was just fun, fun friends joking around, whatever. And then I remember there was an article that Robin Taylor wrote about how I show up to the range, I say hi to everyone, nice and friendly, take pictures, say hello, help people. And then when I walk to the line, I totally flip a switch and it's just serious, execute. I forget maybe it was an animalistic comparison, but it's just game time and I go. And that's how I am. You see me around the range, I'm friendly, talking to people, all that sort of stuff. But when it's time to go to the line, 1-2 shooters out, I am there to win and I'm there to absolutely dominate. And so I want to crush that stage. And so, hippos are kind of funny because they're the most deadly animal in Africa, but this purple, friendly, and I used to shoot a purple gun and I'm friendly and maybe unassuming. But when I go up there, I mean business when I go up there. So it's just funny, big hippo energy of just being a nice guy to everyone, being personable, being a good man on the range, but then also when it's time to eat, when it's time to get down to business, we get down to business. So, and big hippo energy is probably ticked a couple people off that I don't mind doing that too. And so it's always fun. And if people take this stuff so seriously that, as a grown man, you can't laugh at big hippo energy, it reflects more on them than it does me. So big hippo energy is maybe not loved by a couple, but it's loved by many. And those that know. So it's good stuff.
I love it, and I use that soundbite immediately. Like I hear that fly by, and I'm like, "Big Hippo Energy is in the show, Jack." Before we cut it off, last question: do you want to talk about your gun? Is Eddie still building your guns, or tell me about that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm shooting CZ Shadow 2 in Carry Optics, playing with the Glocks when I teach different people, and I enjoy those too. But yeah, Eddie Garcia out of Arizona, I mean, no question, builds the best 2011 pistol by far, whether it be 9mm, 38 Super Comp, open gun limited, whatever. And so he is my gun builder for sure, EMG Customs. And Eddie's a friend. Eddie is my builder. He's the best partner you could ask for as far as guns. Really takes care of me. Make sure, before the World Championship, I'll visit down in Arizona. We'll go through the guns, make sure everything's tip-top shape like I know it always is. These guns are awesome. These are high-performance machines. This is, it's funny seeing the level of detail that I have in my craft of shooting. Eddie not only has that in his shooting, but he also does that in the way that he builds his guns. He's so meticulous. He's so detail-oriented. And the same approach that I take in my shooting is the same approach that he takes in his guns. And that's, I think, one of the big reasons why our partnership together has been so awesome. Working with him personally and professionally is we just align on stuff, and he's a good guy and really takes care of me. So, yeah, I'll be ripping the Siler 3. I have 3, Siler 1, 2, 3. I'll be ripping Siler 3. Siler 2 will be in the stables, and Siler 1, that's a serial number on it, will be my training gun. But I don't abuse those things. I treat them really well and practice with training guns. But yeah, Eddie's great with that. So, but yeah, topped with Vortex optics. Literally the best optics you could possibly ask for across the board, rifle, pistol. They have some new stuff coming down the works, which is going to be awesome. But the Defender XL, really loving that optic, and appreciate Vortex, appreciate Dylan Precision as well, the finest reloading equipment out there. And those are my two biggest, closest partnerships, and really appreciate them as well.
Awesome. Well, that's everything I got. Thanks for joining us this morning, getting up early, getting into the office early to make it happen.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
You got it, dude.
Couple of other news and notables. As you are watching this, we are traveling to the western slope of Colorado for the Ultimate Hunter Shooting Sports Invitational. They've got $20,000 up for grabs. That'll be in a new future Shooting USA episode coming up later on this summer. Here's something interesting. Our YouTube creators report. Everything seems to be on an even keel. We had 1.1 million minutes watched in 1 month. That is astounding to me. Here's a shot of a Fox Body Mustang that is fully hooking up. And as always, get somebody out to the range. And like Jim used to say, share your sport.